Oh, you motherfuckers. Okay. All right. I'm putting cases on all you bitches. Huh? You think you can do this shit? Jay! You think you can do this to me?
Nikola Mirotic. I get it right this time? Yeah, sometime in a past life, I heard somebody say Nikolai Mirotic. For some reason, I never let that go. I hear his name all the time. I watch Pelicans games all the time. And I got on camera and said Nikolai Mirotic. Keep it cool though, keep it cool. The police chief made a mistake. But remember,
I'm the police! I run shit here! You just live here!
besides, the way I butchered his name is nowhere near as bad as these takes you're about to see. We've got a James Harden problem lately because he's been running through everybody's favorite team, and that's causing some real problems. People aren't liking his playstyle. They don't like the fouls he draws, they don't like him flopping. But nevertheless, he's right back in the MVP conversation. As a matter of fact, he's probably leading it after these last 10 games, possibly. And for me personally, oh goodness, this is a gold mine. Because you know when hate is involved, people cannot think straight. Speaking of which, future inmate number 1 says, James Harden is absolutely overrated. There we go, already starting. He is a one-trick pony where if his jump shot is not falling, he is useless as an NBA player on the floor. Well, 8.5 assists and nearly 6 rebounds a game says otherwise, but continue. By the way, this is referring to the Houston and Golden State Hardwood Classic that took place on the 3rd of January. Says tonight he dropped 44 points but allowed Klay Thompson to still score effectively with 26 points. James Harden's real plus minus was 5 tonight while Klay's was a -3 when Harden dropped 18 more points than he did. +1 for stat junkies? That's because Harden only affects one end of the floor and chooses not to play defense. Well, you know what? Okay, we can all agree on the defense thing. We know Harden is not a great defender. He's not as bad as he once was. Like he was really bad a couple of years ago. But I still get it. He's more of a one-sided type player. But this is why I hate field goal percentage Twitter, which we're gonna get to later, and stat junkie Twitter. There's a very high probability that this guy typed this without watching the game. Not saying he did, but there's a good chance. First of all, this is very similar to some terrible takes you're gonna see moving on. But let's go to the specific January 3rd game. A game in which James Harden did not have Eric Gordon, nor did he have Chris Paul on the floor. I believe the Rockets went down by 20 points, was it? They had an insane comeback. They had to overcome the refs doing the bird box challenge when Kevin Durant had both feet firmly planted out of bounds when he saved the basketball, and Harden himself quite literally getting fouled on that last attempt by Draymond Green. So he has 44 points that game, knocks down the game winner, beats the Golden State Warriors on their home floor with a comeback, does basically everything Houston needs, but we choose to focus on what his plus minus was and how many points Klay Thompson had. How about they got a win led by James Harden when they were terribly outgunned, and they would have probably been blown out by 40 without Harden on the floor? Instead of breaking down the most minute stats you can find, how about we look at how the night turned out? I have more to say about this later. I'm actually going to save this for different takes because the part of his take that was really trash was just saying that he's a one-trick pony and he's useless if he's not scoring. That's a full confession that you don't watch James Harden, that you only watch highlights. You snitched on yourself. We didn't even have to do a sobriety test. Here we go, more stat junkies that can't appreciate anything because they're not actually watching the games. Harden basically called himself the 2-time MVP after that performance. I thought that's what he was saying, and it looks like that's what he said. This guy goes, "You are not fucking MVP worthy, so stop telling shit." Yeah, this guy, this is gonna be a good one. When you begin shooting less than 27 free throw per game and less than 30 shots a game, maybe you can talk. You even look how many minutes you play? So this is the common mistake that people are making on Harden's run. They're looking at his field goal percentage, his usage percentage, how much he's actually playing, how much he's shooting. They're focusing on all of these things and not the fact that they are now, what, is it 9-1? Whatever it is, they've won a majority of the games that he's been on this 30-point streak, and now he's on a 40-point streak. And it has not been pretty, which again, that's more into another take. But my question here is, and I'm probably gonna ask it again, how much are you asking of James Harden? How much do you need him to do? Because this is the problem that I have, and this counts as field goal percentage Twitter, by the way. On one hand, you want Harden to lead the team to victories because they're in the West. They started off terrible. They were like 1-5. Chris Paul gets hurt. So not only are they trying to live up to expectations that they set last year, They're trying to stay competitive this year. So Harden is doing that despite people going down, despite Chris Paul habitually going down, and when he does it, now you choose to focus on his percentages. You choose to focus on the fact that he's shooting a lot every game, and this right here is the reason why Kobe is so disrespected. In his retirement, people just go back and look at stats and they don't look at the fact that sometimes he was just doing what needed to be done. The Lakers and Celtics 2010 finals, that's my team that lost. It's Boston. I still feel that loss in my chest. And it's still so annoying when people go back and rip apart his finals that year because they look at his percentages and they say, oh, Pau Gasol, he was the one who deserved finals MVP. Let me tell you something, alright? Pau Gasol was not the guy we were afraid of 8 years ago, it was Kobe. Because we weren't focused on simple shit like, oh, I hope he shoots 50% this game, he has to be efficient this game. Sometimes that's just not an option. Back then when Kobe had a bad finger and a bad knee, that's just what it was. His shooting wasn't going to be all that great. James Harden in this situation right now, he's missing his backcourt mate. They had a very slow start. He's doing what he's got to do to get there by any means necessary. So if he has to shoot 44% for the game or 40% for the game, but he still ends up with a triple-double and they win, that was the goal. Why does this generation only care about stats? Where is this coming from? You know what? Let me stop you right there. I know where it's coming from. Next. Oh, look, another one. Yeah, we're throwing all these guys in the same cell today. He shot 13 of 32. Yeah, and he hit the dagger and they won the game. This is getting repetitive. Here's a really good one. All right, I love this. So we don't get too repetitive talking about the same game and the same thing. Check this out. There's a graphic of James Harden and he is now in the 15th spot, it seems. Yeah, 15th for all-time three-point made leaders. Wow, I did not realize that. But this is so sweet because here we go again. This comment says Harden scores a lot because he shoots a lot. That has to be the reason. You're right. That's what everyone's missing. But his percentages are nothing to brag about. Here we go again, Stat Junkie Twitter. Harden is not even in the top 30 in the league for three-point percentage. Oh, you were going to prison. I got something for you. PJ Tucker, listen to this. PJ Tucker is actually a better shooter than Harden. Unless Harden is wide open or unless the clock is running out. The Rockets should easily be able to find a higher percentage shot than a three-point shot hurled by Harden. The guy who tagged me in this trash take had a bunch of laughing emojis. That was my reaction. Alright, so let's break this one down because he violated multiple rules. First of all, I'm going to tell you that he violated the sacred rule of just reading stats and not doing anything to fact check them. Not watching the game, not using the slightest bit of common sense. He heard this whole top 30 stat. He heard this somewhere and did not even bother to check it. Okay, so check this out. Factually, he's right. If you go to Basketball Reference, you will see that James Harden is not actually in the top 30 for three-point percentage, and that is solely because Basketball Reference ranks by guys that it only ranks by percentages. So it doesn't take into the account the amount of games a guy played or how many three-pointers he actually took. Yeah, as a matter of fact, let me show you all this because if you're going to use the Basketball Bible, you have got to use it right. That's another violation. So you come over here to player stats for the 2018-2019 season, and if you organize by three-point percentage, yes, you will see there are guys that have a perfect three-point percentage, but that's because they played 2 games. And technically, if you come all the way down here to 30, yeah, he is absolutely right. James Harden is not in the top 30. But on the alternative, check this out. You come here and you see that James Harden shoots 38% from the three-point line and he attempts the most in the NBA right now. He attempts 12 a game. So out of guys that are actually playing games, like in the 30s, I think I'm going to use 30 as a measuring stick, maybe 29, something like that. People that are playing enough games to rank, and out of people that are actually taking three-pointers in the games, not someone who just shot 1 or 2 three-pointers this season, you will clearly see that James Harden actually has one of the best three-point percentages out of people who play as much as him and shoot as much as him. So you have Steph Curry at 44% right here. You've got Damian Lillard at 39%. Buddy Hield at 43%. Oh, it's getting a bit steep. You got Kyrie Irving at 40%. Lauri Markkanen, who actually has only played 15 games, so he doesn't really qualify for this. He's played half the number of games. Harrison Barnes. Like, you see how far I've gone down so far? I'm down to now people who shoot 6 threes in a game. So my point with this is Harden is taking more threes than a lot of people and he's making them at a better clip than a lot of people. Yeah, lack of common sense and regurgitating stats, especially when they're wrong, oh goodness, that's a life sentence. I don't even have to think about that one. As far as the PJ Tucker thing, I believe PJ Tucker does have a slightly better percentage or the same on a lot less three-point attempts. The only thing you could argue with PJ Tucker is that he's a better spot-up shooter. That's the only thing you could argue, not even saying you would be right. But we're talking about Harden pulling up from multiple feet behind the line, off the dribble through step backs. Come on now, just watch the game. PJ Tucker's not a better shooter than him. Maybe spot up in the corner, or just spot up in general, maybe. But yeah, he's got life anyway, so nothing can save him. Okay, I'm already going pretty high on time, and that was just James Harden takes, and I think I'm actually just gonna keep this a Harden video. I actually had a lot more takes planned for today, but because Harden is on such a streak, and the takes were so garbage about him, I figured we would just take a day and focus on that. And he really does deserve his own video for what he's doing. If you have not been able to tell, I am just not a gigantic stat guy, because especially when I'm watching things and I see the context as I'm watching it, like it's one thing when people talk about historical things in the NBA without context, but like actually watching the streak going on right now, watching James Harden go on the streak, look, I get it. I get that people are annoyed with the flops and the fouls, but that's not why he's so good. I've watched multiple games of his throughout this streak. The man is really just like, especially with the whole step back that he does, that's an unguardable move. That's quickly, I think when he retires, people will remember that as one of the most unguardable moves in NBA history. It's like, cause you know it's coming, right? That's a sign of an unguardable move when you know it's coming and there's still nothing you can do, like you can't figure it out. He's been doing this for what, 2 or 3 straight years now? If you contest it, you likely foul him. If you don't contest it, or if you do contest it, it probably still goes in. But people are begging him to have a great field goal percentage while he's doing this. What is it with y'all? He's winning. The Rockets were in a bad place. We were really looking at them crazy just like a month ago. They are winning basketball games right now, mainly because of James Harden. Like, what do you guys want? The James Harden haters, I'm speaking to you. What do you want? And not even James Harden haters, like field goal percentage Twitter. What do y'all want from these guys? When they're put in a situation where they just need to find a way to win, why is it so important for you to have them shoot like 50% if they win? The guy's star running mate is out right now. They were in a tough spot. They needed wins. His shooting isn't pretty sometimes, but everything he does right now is conducive to winning. But you know what? Somewhere along the line, it just seems like having a nice field goal percentage became more important than winning. So I don't know what to do with that crowd. But you know what to do if you see some trash takes. Whether it's Instagram or Twitter, make sure you tag me and use the hashtag NBA Twitter Police. Bad takes are a dime a dozen, and especially on NBA Twitter. Stay vigilant, people.